Okay. So yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. I challenged myself to make this a short presentation. I'm not sure I'm going to achieve that or not, but we'll have some food in between, so hopefully it doesn't grind on too long. So the name of the talk is called Sous vide and the isothermal steak. And again, my name is Cyrus, and yeah, so here's even shop for sous vide cheap, right? So type into Google sous vide cheap, and you'll get a little response that looks something like that. So you can spend 70 bucks for one of these immersion circulators. And if you look over on the bar over there next to the sink by the microwaves, is the curry. It's still cooking. It's cooked for about 24 hours, and it's at 78 Celsius. And I'll go through, why, maybe, I love steak, and the steak, this steak here on my left, I think that's your left, is basically cooked isothermally, so that it's perfectly done from the center all the way to the edge, and just that last millimeter of steak has the crisp, Maillard reaction, the tasty outside bits, versus this steak was grilled, and there's a strong temperature gradient across the steak. And so by the time the center is safe and done in the middle, you have an overdone perimeter of the steak. So it's not perfect, basically. So this sous vide, which means under vacuum, or I call it precision low temperature cooking, is a really powerful technique to make perfectly done proteins. And so to demo this, I went up to Sonoma the other day and went to this place called Salmon Creek Ranch. And there is not the cow that we're going to eat today, but there is a cow. And it was really beautiful. Sonoma was a nice spot, and I picked up some meat. This is Leslie with all of her goats, and she was a very kind lady. And she and thanks to Brian for paying for the food. But I sure did have fun preparing it. So. Drink on. This is part of my ongoing whatever random stuff I choose to talk to and teach you guys about, but today it's about cooking. So I'll give a very brief introduction to sous vide. We'll talk about how it helps me minimize meal prep time. The schedule is super important. I'll talk very briefly about veggies and pectin, so there's proteins that hold all of the fibers and the tissues of the plants together, and that breaks down at a certain temperature. And so again, the precise temperature control that you can have with sous vide really has a role to play in veggie cooking. But really where it shines is in proteins and with beef. So I'll talk about tender cuts of beef, pork, chicken, eggs, and getting the perfect sear, which is happening right now. Joe, do you want to go and flip those and then make sure that they come in? I think they're about done. All right. So we got lots of food coming here, folks. Optimal diet, I can rant for a few seconds about meal frequency again. You guys listened to me about that a year ago. So this is the menu for today. We got sous vide brisket. And what's that?
Tell them to save their cups for this.
Oh, save your cups if you want seconds. If there's enough for seconds, which I think there might be. Okay, so just let the cat out of the bag with some of the recipes, and this is what we're going to eat today. We got sous vide brisket and short rib. So these are my two favorite cuts to do in the sous vide. And they have a lot of connective tissue. They have a lot of collagen that makes it tough. And I cook it for 60 to 80 hours. So think 3 days. Like, okay, I want to eat with my friends on Friday, so I'm fasting today. Let me just go ahead and put that in. Put it in the sous vide at 57 Celsius. That's the optimum temperature for the tough cuts, in my opinion. And then grill or smoke it for about 30 minutes. So the next one, and that's what's in that bucket over there that we'll get out in a minute after my talk here, is kumquat coconut goat curry. So again, I bought some goat. Toast those spice mixes, put in the meat just for a minute. Coconut cream, and then the kumquats, and then sous vide that at 78 C. So the goat, you have there's kind of two ways of approaching the lamb or goat, especially the tougher cuts. You can either go higher temperature, like I'm doing here with 78 for about 24 hours, or you can start going closer and closer to beef where you would with like a medium rare, and up the time and cut the temperature. And I'll show a table of some guesses at optimality. Again, pectin, the proteins that hold the fibers of plants together, they don't break down until much, much higher temperature. So really, if you're going to make the perfect stew, you might want to be cooking your plants and your veggies at a different temperature than your beef, and then combining it at the end. But I've got some spinach I'll serve here in a minute as well that I'm cooking at 90 C, way too hot. So there was this fellow named Benjamin Thompson, who was the physicist and the thermodynamics guy. And this is some prose from the 19th century, or from 1802, where he said, "The gentle heat, which had been so long exposed, had by degrees loosened the cohesion of its fibers and concocted its juices." So this is not completely new, but I think that making this popular cooking approach, you know, he was saying, hey, there's nothing special about the boiling point of water for cooking meat, and bringing the temperature down really, really does make it better. So here's, you know, tender cuts of meat can be perfectly cooked with sous vide. So the steaks are actually still cooking. We need to get those on the grill here in a minute. We only had a few steaks. They didn't have that many. We did mostly the tough cuts. And really the tougher cuts of beef are more expensive and cheaper than steak, and in my opinion better. So it's cheaper and better, but it takes a long time. So you guys can issue your opinion. The steaks are in the sous vide now. We'll put them on the grill, and they'll be ready by closer to 1, or maybe even 12:45. But there's not that much of the steaks. Like I said, it's much more expensive. So again, you know, these are the two pictures. You know, if you're cooking it, you know, with this high temperature gradient, then you end up, you know, with raw in the middle and overcooked on the edge. And so, you know, if you're cooking it at 200 C, never is the steak really perfect. But if you're cooking it at 60 C, then, you know, after 15 or 20 minutes, it's about medium rare all the way through the thickness, and then you sear it for 1 minute on the grill, and that gives you the crispy crust, right? That gives you the tasty Maillard reaction products on the outside. So meal prep minimization. So here's a picture of a squash, and I sous vide it for 30 minutes at 90 C, and then it's super easy to peel. So I use this in my meal prep sometimes. But yeah, so this guy Douglas Baldwin, I think he wrote the best book on sous vide. You can find out, there's like 20 books on it nowadays. But there's tons and tons of resources online. You know, there's probably 20 different Reddit threads, and there's vast knowledge available. And if you come talk to me about it, I'll probably talk about it for 4 hours. So watch out. But this is a summary table here of what I think are about the right temperatures to consider. Again, tender beef, I like medium rare to rare, which is 52 Celsius. That's like 130 to calibrate yourself. The tough cuts of beef, which are dominated by collagen, that collagen breaks down into gelatin and becomes super yummy, but it takes a really, really long time. So you can see 72 hours there. If you want to cook your pork slow, you can cook it at 65. It has I think a good texture. It takes, you know, maybe 2 days. But if you want to cook it a little faster, a lot of times I'll do 78 overnight. And I was going to do a pork belly, and I'm a little sad I didn't, but I kind of ran out of schedule and preparation time for this. Chicken does great. You can even push the safe temperature for chicken down with long cooking time, and you can serve this medium rare chicken that'll freak out your guests. I'm not sure you want to do that. I'm not recommending it here. I'm recommending 63, which will be like a fully medium chicken, which is really good. And the legs and wings, I really like to do those for 24 hours at 65 C. Especially the wings are one of my favorites. They're really high fat. It's really good for you. Eggs, and there's, I almost put a range of temperature. You can control the egg protein is two different. There's the white versus the yolk. Those two proteins denature at different temperature, and you can very subtly have a big range of textures. Another one of my favorite dishes is French toast, where you make like a custard, put that in the bread, put the bread into the bag in the sous vide, and then just fry it for a second. The plants need high temperature, up at 90. So it's super easy. Put your meat in the bag with some spices and put it in a bucket. You can see here, this was me prepping this week for all this food. So yeah, sous vide everything, guys. This is the pork belly I did last Thanksgiving. Sometimes it's easy to cut it up when it's cold. So I'll sous vide it for the day or 18 hours, whatever it was, and then slice it, and then sear it after slicing. So here's the Tupperware setups that was in the storeroom here. I cut a hole in the Tupperware lid, and you can see this is the sous vide going through that hole, and then yeah, just go take a look at the setup after. Put the food in the bags. Optionally, put a bucket inside of the Tupperware. You can see that again, that setup there. I've got a large bucket and inside of the Tupperware, so that kind of double-walled container stops evaporation, stops heat loss, and right now you can see that you get this really precise temperature control. So I got a question before, is it safe? And so above about 50, maybe 52 Celsius, the bacteria start to die. And the rate that they die at, there's a 7 orders of magnitude reduction in bacteria that is considered safe. So that's a full sterilization of the food that you want to achieve. And so you can achieve that in 1 second if you're at 65 Celsius. So if you want to cook your food for a really, really short amount of time, you have to get the temperature up. But at 55 Celsius, after an hour, all the bacteria are basically dead. So with the beef, that's kind of what we're doing. There's not a lot of bacteria, hopefully, on the beef to start with, but it is certainly safe to have this long cooking time. So it takes a long time to cook. It kind of goes with my prior talk. So low meal frequencies, understanding my body has been a real gift. Go back and check out my talk on how to feed the beast. And I really enjoy food more knowing that I'm eating in a healthy way and that I can control my energy and my weight with low meal frequency. And since it takes so long, you're waiting anyways. You can just fast those whole 2 days before it's time to eat. Anyways. So here's a chart about eggs. So yeah, if you're at 57 egg, it's basically uncooked. But at 60, you're starting to get into that perfect umami. And then by the time you get to 63, it's basically soft boiled. But 66, it's on the way to hard boiled. So again, every degree you have this different texture, different protein behavior that you can really watch it happen. The really fine temperature control allows for awesome eggs and custards. So, like I said, I almost served one of those too. So there's the pile of spices that I was doing to prep for this, and this is my sous vide setup at home. It's just a small Tupperware. I also have that one out, so you guys can check it out. So yeah, that is it. Let's eat. Here's some more recipes, and then I in this slide, and I'll publish these slides. I have a bunch of different recipes: spinach, pork belly, chicken salad, chili marinade. Let's eat, guys. All right, my name is Cyrus Tabery, and I'm here to teach you a little bit about sous vide. which is precision low temperature cooking. So here I've got a sous vide device. So this is basically, it's an immersion heater, and basically this is a little propeller that moves the water around, and this is the control equipment, and then this is a heater. So this is just a simple heater coil. You push power through there, it heats up the water. The impeller stirs the water around. This protects the impeller. And based on the electronics inside, you have a PID controller, some sort of controller that will keep the water temperature very precisely controlled. You can see here we're running, and I have some notes here of what's happened recently, but this is the sous vide device cooking away right now at 57.5 degrees Celsius, which is 135.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And inside we have my personal favorite thing to sous vide, which is the beef short rib. So there's a lot of fat and a lot of connective tissue in that type of meat, which makes it perfectly paired for sous vide cooking. All the connective tissue breaks down over time and turns into yummy gelatin. But by keeping it at low temperature, you still have a medium rare and a really nice flavor of beef and a nice texture. It's much softer than if you, normally you'll have a short rib, you'll cook it at maybe 80 degrees Celsius or close to the boiling point of water, even higher than 80. And after 6 or 8 hours, it'll fall apart, fall off the bone, be really good and tender, but it's not quite as good because it's now well done. I like my steak medium rare. I actually like my short rib medium rare, but until sous vide came along, there was no way to do medium rare and fall apart, fall off the bone tender. So brisket, short rib, chuck roast, London broil, any of the tougher cuts of meat really do well in the sous vide with extremely long cooking time at relatively low temperature. There's